We have been reading A Course in Miracles, and right now we're on chapter 21, which is called Reason and Perception. And this section is section 3. It's called Faith, Belief, and Vision. All special relationships have sin as their goal, for they are bargains with reality, toward which the seeming union is adjusted. Forget not this: to bargain is to set a limit in any brother with whom you have a limited relationship you hate. You may attempt to keep the bargain in the name of, quote, fairness, unquote, sometimes demanding payment of yourself, perhaps more often of the other. Thus, in the, quote, fairness, unquote, you attempt to ease the guilt that comes from the accepted purpose of the relationship. And that is why the Holy Spirit must change its purpose to make it useful to Him and harmless to you. If you accept this change, you have accepted the idea of making room for truth. The source of sin is gone. You may imagine that you still experience its effects, but it is not your purpose and you no longer want it. No one allows a purpose to be replaced while he desires it, for nothing is so cherished and protected as is the goal the mind accepts. This it will follow, grimly or happily, but always with faith and with the persistence that faith inevitably brings. The power of faith is never recognized if it is placed in sin, but it is always recognized if it is placed in love. Why is it strange to you that faith can move mountains? This is indeed a little feat for such a power. For faith can keep the Son of God in chains as long as he believes he is in chains. And when he is released from them, it will be simply because he no longer believes in them, withdrawing faith that they can hold him and placing it in his freedom instead. It is impossible to place equal faith in opposite directions. What faith you give to sin, you take away from holiness, and what you offer holiness has been removed from sin. Faith and belief and vision are the means by which the goal of holiness is reached. Through them, the Holy Spirit leads you to the real world and away from all illusions where your faith was laid. This is his direction, the only one he ever sees. And when you wander, he reminds you there is but one. His faith and his belief and vision are all for you. And when you have accepted them completely instead of yours, you will have need of them no longer. For faith and vision and belief are meaningful only before the state of certainty is reached. In heaven they are unknown, yet heaven is reached through them. It is impossible that the Son of God lack faith, but he can choose where he would have it be. Faithlessness is not a lack of faith, but faith in nothing. Faith given to illusions does not lack power, for by it does the Son of God believe that he is powerless. Thus is he faithless to himself, but strong in faith in his illusions about himself. For faith, perception, and belief you made, as means for losing certainty and finding sin. This mad direction was your choice, and by your faith in what you chose, you made what you desired. The Holy Spirit has a use for all the means for sin by which you sought to find it. But as he uses them, they lead away from sin because his purpose lies in the opposite direction. He sees the means you use, but not the purpose for which you made them. He will not take them from you, for he sees their value as a means for what he wills for you. You made perception that you might choose among your brothers and seek for sin with them. The Holy Spirit sees perception as a means to teach you that the vision of a holy relationship is all you want to see. Then you will give your faith to holiness, desiring and believing in it because of your desire. Faith and belief become attached to vision, as all the means that once served sin are redirected now toward holiness. For what you think is sin is limitation, and whom you try to limit to the body you hate because you fear. In your refusal to forgive him, you would condemn him to the body because the means for sin are dear to you. And so the body has your faith and your belief. But holiness would set your brother free, removing hatred by removing fear, not as a symptom, but as its source. Those who would free their brothers from the body can have no fear. they have renounced the means for sin by choosing to let all limitations be removed. As they desire to look upon their brothers in holiness, the power of their belief and faith sees far beyond the body, supporting vision, not obstructing it. But first they chose to recognize how much their faith had limited their understanding of the world, desiring to place its power elsewhere should another point of view be given them. The miracles that follow this decision are also born of faith. For all who choose to look away from sin are given vision and are led to holiness. Those who believe in sin must think the Holy Spirit asks for sacrifice, for this is how they think their purpose is accomplished. Brother, the Holy Spirit knows that sacrifice brings nothing. He makes no bargains, and if you seek to limit him, you will hate him because you are afraid. The gift that he has given you is more than anything that stands the sight of heaven. The instant for its recognition is at hand. Join your awareness to what has been already joined. The faith you give your brother can accomplish this. For he who loves the world is seeing it for you, without one spot of sin upon it, and in the innocence that makes the sight of it as beautiful as heaven. Your faith in sacrifice has given a great power in your sight, except you do not realize you cannot see because of it. For sacrifice must be exacted of a body, and by another body. The mind could neither ask it nor receive it of itself, and no more could the body. The intention is in the mind, which tries to use the body to carry out the means for sin in which the mind believes. Thus is the joining of mind and body an inescapable belief of those who value sin. And so is sacrifice invariably a means for limitation and thus for hate. Think you the Holy Spirit is concerned with this? He gives not what it is his purpose to lead you from. You think he would deprive you for your good. But, quote, good, unquote, and, quote, deprivation, unquote, are opposites and cannot meaningfully join in any way. It is like saying that the moon and sun are one because they come with night and day, and so they must be joined. Yet sight of one is but the sign the other has disappeared from sight. Nor is it possible that what gives light be one with what depends on darkness to be seen. Neither demands the sacrifice of the other, yet on the absence of the other does each depend. The body was made to be a sacrifice to sin, and in the darkness so it still is seen. Yet in the light of vision it is looked upon quite differently. You can have faith in it to serve the Holy Spirit's goal and give it power to serve as means to help the blind to see. But in their seeing, they look past it, as do you. The faith and the belief you gave it belongs beyond. You gave perception and belief and faith from mind to body. Let them now be given back to what produced them and can use them still to save itself from what it made. This section is faith, belief, and vision. Again, it's, if you are hearing this kind of thing for the first time, or you have not really been going through the course from the beginning, this does not necessarily make a lot of sense. So that's my job here, is to try to untangle and try to unpack the language a bit to make it clear and simple as we can. Again, let's just start with the basic premise of this whole course. The basic premise is there's only two things in this world that we really need be concerned with. There's love and there's fear. This is on this side of the veil. There's love and fear. Now, love in the course symbolized by the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is the memory in our minds that reminds us of the love of God. And it does that through overlooking all of the, through complete non-judgment, which means complete forgiveness and overlooking everything that we think is a problem. All sin and all illusions. And we have the power, because that is within us, that the Holy Spirit is within all of us. So we have the power to connect with that and to align our perception with that of the Holy Spirit. So in other words, that we can see, you could say, through the eyes of love, everyone and everything. And in doing that, we remind ourselves that that is what our true nature really is. So we remind others and we remind ourselves, and we fulfill, we basically, by doing that, we affirm the truth of existence, which is that there is no separation. Separation is impossible. Now, we also have what the Course calls the ego. The ego is that a thought system. It's actually an entire thought system that is based in this crazy, tiny, mad idea. The Course calls it the tiny, mad idea, that separation is possible, that separation from God is possible. And we are separate. We are separate from God, and we are separate from each other. And which means that on some level we fear the other, we fear God, and we fear that if we ever try to go back, we will be punished. And because of that, we greatly fear the Holy Spirit's message. And we accept the ego because that's familiar to us, because that is what we chose. And that's, what we all, by being here in this world, we're basically, we've really aligned ourselves with the ego, because the ego is all about separation, individuality, personhood, being a body among many other bodies that is clearly distinct, clearly differentiated from every other body. And Jesus is basically saying there's only these two things in this world, but in reality, there really is only love. The ego, which seems very real at this moment for all of us that are caught in the world of perception, the ego really is ultimately nothing. We can't see that right now, but we can see that as we do this practice, we will see it more and more. We will understand the truth of it. We will realize that the ego really is in the way of our joy, our peace, our true happiness, and the love that we truly all seek. And we will start to wake up to the fact that we also have this great magnetic pull toward love. And it feels good to be in the love and to share the love. It does not feel good to be weighed down by the ego. And we will see that more and more. Now the Holy Spirit, Jesus has been talking about the Holy Spirit's purpose. The ego has a purpose. The Holy Spirit has a purpose. The ego's purpose is sin. The ego's purpose is to keep the separation going as long as possible, and ultimately for us to feel that we are deserving of punishment and ultimately even death and damnation. The Holy Spirit's purpose is that is not true whatsoever. And we actually are love, and our purpose therefore is love. And if we accept that purpose, the means to arrive at that goal or that purpose, fulfill that purpose, will be given to us. And as long as we choose the ego's purpose, we will have that, But we can't have both at the same time. It's either one or the other. That's why Jesus is talking about the sun and the moon. You can't have both together, really. It is like saying that the moon and sun are one because they come with night and day, and so they must be joined. Yet sight of one is but the sign the other has disappeared from sight. Nor is it possible that what gives light be one with what depends on darkness to be seen. Neither demands the sacrifice of the other, yet on the absence of the other does each depend. So it's either one or the other. And everything really depends on our choice and what we want to put our faith in. But only the faith in the Holy Spirit's thought system, which is the voice for God, which basically is the faith in God, faith in the love of God. Only that will really work. Only that will bring us where we truly want to go. Faith in the ego is madness, the way to madness, and the way to destruction. Jesus is also here talking about vision. Vision, the only true vision is that of the Holy Spirit. And vision, according to the Holy Spirit, is overlooking sin, overlooking your brother's faults, overlooking anything that is in the way of seeing your brother in the highest light. Seeing your brother in the highest light, seeing your brother meaning the other, any other. When you see your brother in the highest light, you see yourself that way. When you judge your brother, you still have not arrived at complete forgiveness. And complete forgiveness is the doorway to back home to realizing your true nature, self-realization, as it is called in the world of Hinduism, self-realization. I want to just say one thing, which has come up recently. There's debates. You can watch these debates on YouTube about, is Islam, and this is because of the Israel-Hamas war, and people are still talking about this question, is Islam a religion of peace, as George W. Bush said after 9/11, or is it not? And I watched a debate where there was a very good case made that Islam is not a religion of peace, and the ones that were holding that motion that Islam is not a religion of peace, they actually won the debate. Now, what I would say is they did actually win the debate because they presented a better case. But I think there is something to be said for, just like, you wouldn't want to necessarily tell a Muslim to their face, like a Muslim that is very faithful to their religion and really feel strongly about the religion, you wouldn't tell them your religion is bogus, your religion is wrong, or your religion is not peaceful. Rather, if you want to talk to them, you can have a conversation. If they're open to it, you have a conversation. But judging their religion opens you up to judgment yourself for your beliefs and your own religion, whatever it may be. Because I'm Jewish, and people could say the same thing, and do say the same thing about Judaism and about Israel and about the Bible, the Old Testament. So why would I say that about another religion? And the same thing goes for everything. When you judge someone else, you're basically saying, I'm open to being judged too, and I deserve judgment on some level. This may not be the greatest way to. I may be mixing apples and oranges a little bit here, but I'm trying to make a point, which is, no matter what someone is doing, even if you feel like you need to stop them or try to prevent them from doing what they're doing, you can still do it from a place of love and forgiveness and acceptance, rather than hatred, judgment, animosity, revenge, etc., etc. So I'm going to leave it at that. Next section is the fear to look within, and we'll see you there. Thank you so much for listening. Salam alaikum and shalom aleichem.